Greetings and salutations, I am Skojo in 360. Welcome to the ultimate beginner's guide to 360 video. You have made a big step into a new world. You have joined the 360 community. We are going to cover a lot of topics in this thing. The good news is that, I know you don't want to just watch my ugly mug rap for hours and hours and hours. So what I will do is leave some links in the description below that will help you pick what chapters you want to go to. You can refer back to them, all that fun stuff. So a lot of ground to cover, such as, why the hell should you listen to me? What are my qualifications? Am I just an idiot? What is 360 video? Of course, is the first place we have to start. We will talk more in depth about that. We will then give you the first question you should ask before you get into 360 video. I'll break down the two main kinds of 360 video. Yes, there are two different kinds, immersive and reframe. I'll do an overview, then I'll break down each one individually, then I'll tell you how to edit them both, then I'll actually show you where you can share it, where you can't. We'll talk about how to do that. And of course, even though Nostradamus is not my middle name, I will do some prognostication to wrap it up with where I see the 360 video going. All right, well, that's what we're gonna cover in this series. I am Skojo in 360. Welcome to the 360 community. I know, the first question, if you haven't been watching my channel, is why the hell should you listen to me? I'm a funny looking dude with weird glasses, and what are my qualifications to tell you what you should do with 360 video? Well, I started off as a professional musician in the Seattle grunge scene. Yes, I'm that old. And played music for 15 years, so a lot of work in the audio world. Then I decided to transition into video, but by doing so, I went out and got a meteorology degree and was, and still am to a degree, a television meteorologist. When I wanted to make more money, I decided to sell out to the man, went off to Xbox and produced a weekly show called The Connect Show, got to meet R2-D2, sweet. But then the call of independence rang across the mountains. I moved to Central Oregon and have been producing video independently for 7 years. Now, because I'm in a small town, I have had to learn to do all the jobs, from cinematography to editing to coloring to directing to producing. So I've had to do a little bit of everything. And then about a year ago, I was introduced to 360 video, and my mind was blown, and it has changed my life ever since. So right now, you consider me a professional traditional video producer, and while I do some 360 video professionally, mostly like immersive tours and things like that, I'm more just sort of a passionate amateur about 360 video, and I'm gonna approach everything I'm about to tell you not from a I'm super professional and super knowledgeable standpoint. I'm going to try to put it in words and concepts that we can all understand. Well, of course, it wouldn't make a lot of sense to do the ultimate beginner's guide to 360 video without answering the question, what is 360 video? 360 video is what I think one of the biggest moves forward in filmmaking and storytelling, literally in the history of the world. I put it up there with the invention of TV. It is a visual medium that is unlike anything else. Up until now, we've been using a lens on a camera shooting 24 frames per second, and it's worked out pretty good. But then over time, with technology coming around and smart brains thinking of smart things, suddenly they came up with the concept of, why don't we just put a lens on one side of a camera and a lens on another side? They will shoot, let's say 200 degrees around, and then we can stitch them together and we have a full 360 video. Genius! Now, 360 video has been around in its infancy since, as I recall, even the early parts of the millennium, but it's only been within the last few years that things have really picked up where it's accessible to the average consumer. We have cameras now that you can get for about $100, and it does shoot 360 video. 360 video is great for grabbing every perspective all around you. It gives you all kinds of movement in the edit bay, and it doesn't just come as a file that's fully immersive. You can actually do what they call reframing 360 video, which we will get into in another chapter, where you can make a traditional video out of the 360 video. So 360 video is 360 video, but it's also flat traditional video too, if you want to reframe it and cut it up that way. Now, 360 video, of course, comes with its challenges. I mean, you got a camera that is picking up everything, and sometimes getting that to be narrowly focused down into a story you can tell can be a little bit difficult. But thankfully, a lot of the prosumer and consumer level cameras are coming with apps, with editing software. There are plugins for Premiere, there are plugins for Final Cut, if I heard correctly. So we are starting to see a lot more accessibility of 360 video and video editing. Now, of course, the first question you should ask before you get into 360 video is, what level do you want to get into it? There are 3 levels to think about: consumer, prosumer, and pro. My guess is that anybody watching this is gonna go consumer to prosumer. That's the level that I certainly encourage most people to get into. A lot of the consumer level cameras, just really not all that great. But the benefits to a consumer camera is they run sometimes as low as $100, and there are several now coming out that you had to choose from. They don't shoot the greatest video in the world, but they are getting better, and they're fun for just people that just want to dabble around, throw stuff up on Instagram, Snapchat, or whatever. The consumer level is basically going to get you in at the cheapest possible realm. But where I think you'll get the most bang for your buck is kind of the upper consumer level to prosumer level. You kind of combine them together. There are a lot of cameras in this space. A lot of them shoot 5.7K. There's a new camera coming out, 8K, which was only available on the professional level before. And so you got a lot of options in what would be kind of considered the prosumer level. The benefits to prosumer is while it is a little bit more expensive, you do get to kind of pull down some of the low-hanging fruit from the professional level, because the professional level, that's when things get expensive. On the professional level, you're dealing with sometimes 4, 6, 8 cameras, 8K, 12K, 16K. Files get gigantic, processing that stuff becomes expensive. So the professional level is really only for people who have been in it for a long time. Again, I'm assuming most of you are going to be in the consumer to prosumer level. So that's what we're going to address mostly in this series. So, are you just going to be somebody who wants to get a few shots to show your friends? You're going to give the duck lips to your friends, or you maybe want to do some stuff, get out on your snowboard or whatever. That might be a prosumer thing. Or are you wanting to go professional so you can actually do full-on 360 films, which I think may be the wave of the future. Once you can answer that question, you can move on. One thing that people who are new to 360 video really don't realize is there's not just one format for 360 video. I was one of those people. In fact, basically one of the things that kind of kept me out of looking at 360 video was that, not everybody wears the Oculus goggles and all that stuff. I found it very fascinating and one of the most engaging ways of experiencing video. But, how many people to this day still have the Oculus? Those things are still kind of catching on. So there are actually two formats. There is the Immersive, which is the fully 360, and you generally need those goggles or some kind of cell phone viewer to watch it. But there's also Reframed video. And what Reframed video is it takes that 360 data and punches it into a traditional flat video, which gives you all kinds of realms to zoom around and look at things. And you basically get 360 degrees crammed into a two-dimensional video. So right now, reframing video is the most popular because it's the most accessible and it's the easiest to deal with. My prediction is that eventually immersive video is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. It's only difficult right now because it creates problems as far as having to have a viewer, as far as having to have the right processor to watch it. But for now, we will see more from Reframed because you can do some psychedelic cool things with it, and eventually we will see more immersive. The good news is that you can do both with most of these cameras. My guess is you'll probably want to start off in reframing video, but immersive does have some potential to be a lot of fun. Immersive video was all I thought 360 video was before I found out about reframing. And it's basically taking this camera, as I said earlier in this series, with at least two lenses that shoot all the way around. Now, in order to view immersive 360 video, you have to edit it as immersive 360 video, which is a challenge in and of itself, but also you need either like an Oculus Go or you need something that gives you the VR experience so that everywhere you look around, you see what that video is. Immersive video hasn't caught on quite as much right now, but that's mainly because it's a whole new realm, and making films with immersive video takes a completely different mindset. So immersive is more difficult to get into. It's generally harder to process because you'll want to have a larger computer, faster processors and things like that. And as I said, it takes a little bit different mindset. It also takes a different editing technique because with immersive, you lose control for the most part over who or what the viewer sees in your video because they can look around anywhere. All you can really do is pick the starting point for what they're gonna see. So when you make immersive films, you really have to be prepared that you lose control over the subtleties of the story. You can guide your viewer down the larger path, but you have no idea where they're going to be looking at any given moment. But that brings up so many opportunities to throw graphics over somebody's head or have somebody sneaking up behind them. Immersive, I think, will eventually be the future of 360 video. Reframed video is one of the most refreshing things I had no idea existed. And then one day I was watching a Ben Claremont video. If you haven't seen him, check him out on YouTube. And I found out that they can take all that 360 data and cram it into a traditional two-dimensional video. And I am a traditional video producer, and I love editing. So suddenly I'm going, oh my God, I have access to all these different points. Now, it's not like literally you can, adjust, look down, and take the camera up and stuff like that. You still are limited to a certain degree, but in the edit bay, you can look around, behind, down, up. You can guide where you want the viewer to be. The good part about getting reframed video is it makes it easier to edit. In fact, you can edit reframed video in your phone. Reframed video is something that really has started to catch storm, especially like in the hip hop world. You see it in music videos and things like that. And it's also getting really big with sports people. You see people on their snowboards and they're out there shredding, brah, and they're shooting 360, because when you get that back in, just the amount of angles you can choose from with reframed video over traditional video are enormous. I think reframed video is on the rise, will continue to be on the rise, but eventually will likely be overtaken by immersive video in another decade or two. Now, editing immersive video is, I wouldn't call it challenging, I would say approaching it is challenging, because you don't have as much control over where the viewer looks. There are a few things you can do. You primarily need to take it into a pro editing software like Premiere. But you really need to film those kind of videos with the assumption that your viewer could be looking anywhere at any time. So all you really want to do when you edit immersive video is think about the overall story, and then you can start them where you want them to start looking. But you can't really control where it is your viewer goes. Now, that comes with a lot of advantages. You could pop up a little graphic that moves around and guides that person. Doesn't guarantee that they're going to follow it, but some people use little cartoon characters or graphics to have people continue to look around. So to a degree, you can guide their eye, but for the most part, when you're approaching immersive video, A, you want to make sure you have the highest resolution you can. B, you're likely going to want to use something like Premiere Pro, some kind of professional editing software. 3, make sure that you have the right rendering potential, because sometimes you'll take a nice 8K video and find out you can only render it in 4K for the certain channel that you want to do it on. So there are challenges with immersive, but immersive is so beautiful. It really gives you the chance to put a person in that place and time. I saw a video a while back that was taking me down the Grand Canyon, a place that's on my bucket list, and I literally had my Oculus go and I'm looking around and I felt like I was right there, other than I wasn't freezing cold. So immersive video, while not catching on as much right now, it will be the future, but it's also tough on people like me who are editors, because you really need to think about it as, where am I going to start this person off, and then be prepared that they may be looking around at any given time. So use that space to your advantage. Editing reframing video is a lot of fun, and there are so many ways you can do it. Now, what I'm about to tell you is my subjective opinion. I know several other people that do 360 that will disagree with me on that, but I totally understand their point, and I encourage you not to just listen to me. But reframing video, for me in Premiere and some of the professional softwares, can be a little bit of a challenge, because you're keyframing, and a lot of times those keyframes, basically a keyframe is a space in time that you can put the x-axis, the y-axis, the z-axis, and all that stuff. You place that in your timeline, and then when you want to move somewhere, you move to it, you set that keyframe, and between each keyframe, it will move to that. Okay, now, in a professional software, a lot of times those keyframes can be just a little bit jerky, in my opinion, and it's just not quite as much fun to edit. Where I have found the most fun editing reframed video is in the apps. Not only can you do keyframe editing in an app, but I love this new feature. I believe it's called Viewfinder on the Insta360 One X. It's called Overcapture on GoPro. It is a way that you can edit your videos simply by moving your phone around where you want it. You can do tiny planets, and the keyframes that it makes are absolutely seamless. It literally just follows you around. It is a revolutionary way to edit video. Now, the one thing is, a lot of the time when you use that function, it will degrade your video a bit. So if you're wanting the most epic resolution, that will not be the way to do it by editing in the app. But let's face it, a lot of your videos are going on YouTube or Instagram or something like that. You don't need the highest quality. Check out the viewfinder mode in on the Insta360 One X and the I believe it's overcapture mode on GoPro. Sharing your video comes with some pretty positive words. We are seeing a lot of people that are allowing you to share your videos now. There's a group called veer.tv where you can share your immersive videos. I believe Facebook is letting you do that. YouTube is letting you share immersive. So I think immersive is really going to start to take off in the coming years. But if you want to just do like reframed stuff, then you can use Instagram, Snapchat. Any place that accepts traditional video will take reframed video, but places like Instagram do not at this time accept fully immersive 360 video. So before you shoot your video, you might want to look at what channel you want to share it to and what kind of context they accept. Because again, some social media channels do not accept immersive 360 video. Right now, the demographic for it is a lot smaller, so you might think more about reframed videos, and those can be shared on any social media platform that accepts video. Now don't forget, 360 videos are just like any other video. If you want to share them, you're going to want to keep in mind what the format is. You might want to go 1:1 for Instagram, but now Instagram is starting to use the 16:9 instead of the 9:16, so that's another format. So consider what format you want to share it in. Both Premiere, I believe, has a new function that will actually take your traditional video, and then if you say do it 1:1 or 16:9, it will actually create that video for you. So just consider the audience before you shoot your video. Well, of course, my middle name is not Nostradamus, but I have to prognosticate in public about where I see the future of 360 video, and some people will definitely disagree with me on this, but that's fine because I'm an idiot. I think the future of 360 video is right in front of us, and the seeds are growing right now. So basically, reframing video is the easiest, it's the most sort of dynamic looking, and it's the most accessible, so it's taking off right now. There are just a million ways to use reframed video. Immersive video, I think, in the long run, once we get to the ability to view it made a lot easier, is going to surpass. And I really think there's a good chance that people will be going to movie theaters or watching from home and actually putting on headsets and watching full 360 immersive movies. I mean, could you imagine being in the same room with Darth Vader? But the good news is that the cameras you want to buy will do both formats, so you don't have to worry about what's going to become more popular. Find out what it is that you enjoy the most. What format works for you? Play around with all of them. But either way, in my opinion, 360 video is the wave of the future. So join the 360 community, join us, make your content, post some of it down in the comments section below. Let's rock this stuff. Thank you so much for joining me on the Ultimate Beginner's Guide to 360 Video. It has been a lot of fun working with you. I appreciate all of the people who have been tuning into my channel over the last year. My subscriber count is going up. Add your name to that list, ring that bell, and hit that like button, and please share your video with the rest of the 360 community. I am Skojo in 360. We end all videos the same way, don't we? Join me.